Hi guys. Okay, so this is part of the whole Ask Me Anything giveaway that I started yesterday on my Instagram, PK Vintage Shop. I had 42 responses, so making a video answering was a lot easier and maybe kind of fun. Maybe some of you will like it. If not, just turn it off. No obligation. Okay, so I'm just going to jump right into it, and at the end I've got everyone's names in here. I'm going to draw for a winner that I'm going to send a free, some free vintage goodies to. So, okay, number one was from Funky Junkie Jen. She asks, what place would you most like to visit? So I did an out of the country answer and an in the United States answer. Out of the country, I would like to visit Zurich, Switzerland, which is where Hotel Schweizerhof is. My maiden name is Schweizerhof. It's not a name that you see often, and I think it would be really cool to go somewhere with that name, just to go there. Okay, other than that, I would really like to go to Amsterdam in the Netherlands for a few different reasons, but Paige and I would really like to visit there. In the United States, I would love to see San Francisco, Portland, Oregon, our sister city to Portland, Maine here. And Paige has been to Milwaukee, and he has had a lot of very favorable things to say about it. So I think Milwaukee might be kind of cool just to check off the list. So next is Kitchen Moan Meg. She asks, what is your favorite vintage find of all time? I got a few different questions for this, so I broke those answers up. So for this question, I will say, if you have been following my Instagram for a while, then you may remember about a year and a half ago, I was at the Cleveland County Fairgrounds Flea Market in Norman, Oklahoma, and I found a letter written in 1949 in Okinawa, sent back to Oklahoma, from Tommy to Betty Jo. It's a really long story, but I did 7 different posts in my Instagram shop about it. I really encourage you to go back and look at those. Start with my earliest post. The picture will be a photograph of the letter, and kind of read the captions and then go through those 7 different posts. Just look at the hashtag Tommy and Betty Jo, TOMMYANDBETTYJO, Tommy and Betty Jo on the hashtag. It's great. It's a great story, and you'll love reading about it. So Winnie J. Ramey asks, have you ever visited Kentucky? If so, where? Did you find any vintage goodies in Kentucky if you've been there? Winnie J. Ramey, no, I've never been to Kentucky. The closest I've been to Kentucky is kind of skirting around most of it. I've been to Tennessee, Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. I'm from Oklahoma, so I've spent a significant amount of time in Arkansas and been to Missouri a handful of times. So never Kentucky, but if I ever get in that area, I will message you. Okay, Constant Galore asks, what do you think of keeping birds as pets? I don't want to offend anyone. I know that animal questions can be a sensitive subject, so I will say this: I'm a huge lover of animals. I love pets in general. I love all animals. That being said, I personally feel like birds are meant to fly. I feel like if you've rescued a bird, it's injured and it may never fly, or it's kind of an easy target in the wild for one reason or another. Yeah, I can understand keeping a bird as a pet. I do feel like if you have a bird as a pet genuinely just because you love birds, and they're an animal that you really enjoy having, just give it room to fly. I do know several people with birds, and all of them, thankfully, have birds that are out of their cages often, fly around the house, even go outside and fly around the yard with their owners occasionally. I think that's great. I guess what I'm thinking of is when people have several birds in one small cage. I think that's sad. So I have been to a couple different flea markets where I have seen people selling birds, and there will be 50 birds crammed in a tiny cage. I think that's very sad. So if you have a bird just because you think they're cool and they're tucked away and they're kept in a tiny cage, let them fly, please. Love the bird enough to let it fly. Okay. Jessico22, what is your favorite animal? So I'm a cat person. I've had pets my whole life, though. My parents always had animals when I was growing up. They still do. They actually have my cat Henry right now, because when we moved here, we have moved to a place where we are not allowed to have any pets whatsoever. So my parents have my little Henny, but I like Dachshunds a lot, or Dachshund mixes in general, but I really like Dachshunds. They're just the funniest looking animal ever, but I'm a cat person. Aside from pets, I really like possums. I think they're adorable. A lot of people think they're hideous. Possums, armadillos also, but possums, super cute. So when I was a kid, my mom gave me these books. One of them is called Name Patty's Pets, but the other one is like a Counting Possums book. And it was one of my favorite books as a child, and I just really like possums. In the water, puffer fish. So cute. Okay. Michael's Treasure Co. What is the most valuable thing you've ever found while out on your adventure? So maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, I was at an estate sale in Oklahoma City. I asked the family if I could look in their garage, which was all closed up, and they didn't have it open to the public. They let me go dig through it. I did find and purchase for $2 a green fiberglass Eames shell chair, which with the original tag still attached to it. It's pretty fantastic, so it's in my bedroom right now and I love it. There is a good chance that I've had some valuable things here and there in my hunting that I've found and sold for nickels. If that's the case, I don't want to know. But to date, that's the item I know of that's probably worth the most. So, Aubrey's Unicorn says, what is your favorite thing about living in New England? The weather. I'm clearly a fluffy gal, and I do not like sweltering heat and melting into a puddle of my own juices. So I like to stay cool, and the summers here are beautiful. We also really, really enjoy the snow. So this is ideal for us. We also really enjoy the accent of New Englanders, and we love the ferry ride and seeing all the little seals in the water. So cute. So, okay. And barn sales, very cool. Wordstorm asks, what got you started on junking, picking, and thrifting? My mom. Hi mom, I love you. So yeah, my mom always took me thrifting and to garage sales when I was a kid growing up, and I don't know, she passed that passion on to me. Hula Betty 15 asks, what is your favorite thrift find? So I said I was going to break this one up a little bit. Another favorite thrift find was this huge metal waste basket. It's yay big. It's got a Meyer cord decal of a rabbit on it, and I love it. It is in my guest bedroom, and it's got old quilts rolled up inside of it. But it's one of my favorite finds. I'll keep it forever. Julianne Keyworth asks, have you ever traveled out of the country? Again, no. I would say the only out-of-country trip I even see in my future is probably the 5-hour ferry ride to Nova Scotia. So I don't have a passport. There are a lot of places here in the U.S. I want to see, and traveling out of the country just doesn't jump out at me as much as it probably does to other people. So, okay, Bethany, Iona Belair 55. Why is the sky blue? Girl, that's science right there. So it's how sunlight is interacted with, blue wavelengths. I read a little bit about it whenever you asked me that question, because I immediately thought, well, the sky is blue and the grass is green, and but there was more to it, and it was kind of an interesting read. So I put on my scientist coat and my big glasses, and I read all about it, and I loved it. Sidmouth Poppy, fancy a cuppa? A cuppa what, Sidmouth Poppy? Because it depends on what you're asking me. So hot coffee or hot tea? Yes, I always fancy a cup of that. So plain, I drink black coffee. I used to not, but I do now, and I have for several months, and now it's just my preference. I like hot tea, and I also like iced tea. I do not like any sugar at all in my tea, just plain tea. The Traveling Button. Chris, why do you live so far away from me? Sarah, I know, it's a bazillion miles, but we almost moved to Colorado. You've heard this story. So we really like Boulder, and we like Golden in Colorado. My family, my parents love Colorado, and we had really considered before moving here to Portland, Maine area. We were conflicted. We also really liked Colorado. We also love Fayetteville, Arkansas. So those were like the three contenders. My name is Nick. asks, which comic cartoon cat is your favorite? Snagglepuss. Hanna-Barbera's Snagglepuss. So cute. Love it. Also like Hello Kitty, though. Nyarbu. Nyarbuu. Am I saying that right? I don't know. Is there a type of dessert that you dislike, hate, or think is gross? Yes. First of all, I hate cantaloupe. I think it is slimy, and I think it smells terrible, and I just have a great dislike for cantaloupe. I also do not like icing. So I do like cake and cupcakes without icing. Icing to me is just like a syrupy, sugary sludge. It's just too sweet. I don't really care for, what are they called? Snow cones, anything like that either. It's that syrup, sugar, water stuff on it. CD loves GJ. If you could spend time with one person, dead, alive, famous, or not, who would you choose? I would love to have known my mom's mom. Her name was Frances. From things my mom has told me about her, I feel like I would really enjoy her in general. I would like to have known her. And so, anyhow, that's my answer for that. Roaring Vintage asks, have you ever gotten in a fight at the pound? No, but there was this one time. So, okay, if you know Paige, my husband, then you know that he loves retro, older sneakers, like Air Jordans, things like that. And there were these two men at the bins at the pound, and they were fighting. Oh, I say fighting. They were bickering over who was going to get this pair of Jordans that were pretty old and very cool. And they seemed like they were friends. I think they were there together. So it was like, you get him. No, you take him. You take him. And so they were tossing him back and forth, and they landed in the middle, which is about where I was standing. And I knew my husband would really love and wear those Jordans. So I grabbed them as soon as they landed right back in the bins. And one of the men got very upset, tried to grab them out of my hand. And I said, sorry about you. You should have put them in your basket. So I promptly paid and put them in my car, and he was very cranky and upset. Pastel Patrol, what's your favorite color? Well, to look at my house, you would think pastels. I really like pastels. I also like kind of more earth tones, greens and grays and browns. I don't like orange. Recycled with Love wants to know, what inspired you to start Monochromatic Monday? I have yet to get my stuff together and participate. That's okay. And you can always go through past Monochromatic Monday challenges. Post anytime. There are no rules, and I am not the Monochromatic Monday police. It's just something fun to do for whatever reason you feel like doing it. So I really like Flat Lay Friday challenges, and I saw that there was such a following for Flat Lay Friday that I thought, this might be something I can get in on. It's a good way to get more followers also if you post for Monochromatic Monday and use the hashtag ISN Monochromatic Monday. A lot of people I found have been looking at that hashtag, and I don't know, it's just a fun way to see what other people have, and who does not love showing off their junk? Everybody loves that. Okay. Hello Cactus asks, what is the weirdest thing you found while thrifting? I seem to find a lot of diaries, journals, scrapbooks, old letters, old family photographs. Such a mystery how those things end up like in someone's donation pile. I love finding them, but it's so strange, right? I would love to know what's like the weirdest thing you guys have ever found. Alexandra Ewing asks, what's your favorite home tourist attraction? Back in Oklahoma, I would definitely recommend go to Medicine Park. It is one of the prettiest places, in my opinion, in Oklahoma. Here in Maine, I would say take a ferry out to the islands, or just take the mailboat ferry. I think it goes to 13 different islands. You're on a ferry. You get to see the locals come out for their mail. When it gets thrown out on the docks, you'll probably see a seal in the water, or puffins. It's just a very cool experience, and it's like super, super, super cheap, like less than $20, and you're out on the ocean all day. Bridget Naylor asks, why do they call you Powder Keg? So, I used to do plus size pinup. I've been in 2 magazines, and I did a photo shoot with Tess Munster. Super fun. So, I'm not so into it anymore. I kind of really cycle through extreme phases, I've noticed. But, so my name is Crystal. I've gone by Chris my whole life. I think my mom is the only one in my family that calls me Crystal. So I go by Chris. That's the Chris part of Powder Keg Chris. Powder Keg comes from one of my favorite songs of all time. I've always loved it, which is Total Eclipse of the Heart by Bonnie Tyler. There's a line in it that says, living in a powder keg and giving off sparks. So I really think that that's an emotional line. I'm feisty and I'm a very emotional person, and I think that I am living in a powder keg and giving off sparks. So that's where Powder Keg Chris comes from, and I think it's just catchy. Powder Keg Chris, what a fun pinup name. If I ever do roller derby, which I probably never will because I'm a great big baby pants and I don't like to get hurt and fall down, my roller derby name would be Powder Keg Chris. So nobody steal that. Copyright me. Okay. Crystalina Ann, has a vintage item you've purchased ever exposed weird vibes to your home? Not really. That's a fun question. I love hearing stories like that. So I do have a couple of old painted portraits. One is of an old man my stepdaughter Sophia named Bob like 7 years ago. He's kind of creepy. I also have an old lady painting that is very creepy, but I would say those just creep my kids out, not so much me. So yeah. If you guys have bought anything that you feel is creepy or weird, for goodness sakes, please comment and tell me about it. I love hearing about that stuff. Unsteady Yeti asks, what's for lunch? Today, leftover shredded pork and peppers and onions. It's just leftover fajita filling from last night's dinner. Nothing exciting but delicious. Postal Squirrel wants to know, is there anything that you regret selling that you miss or that haunts you to this day? I feel like this is such a boring answer, but not really. When we moved here, we sold 90% of what we owned, and it was very easy once I made the decision to let go, to just let those things go. They're just things. I have a lot of things that I love and I attach to objects easily, but at the end of the day, they're just things, and I don't have a lot of regrets with that. I feel like if I sell something or give something to someone, that person will love that item. It's going to a good home. Just stuff. Okay. A Kitsch Sensibility wants to know which is better, cherry red or vintage aqua. Aqua all day long. I don't love red. It's probably one of my least favorite colors. I like it if it's like an accent color alongside pink. Maybe. I think pink and red is really cute. Or, well, you know what I mean. If it's an accent color, but by itself, red, I'll just pass. It's not for me. Okay. JMG202, what is your favorite New England place to visit? If you ever come to Maine, I would definitely recommend seeing Smalls Falls. It's just a really pretty waterfall in the Rangeley Mountains in Franklin County. We've not been around much of New England. We've been here less than a year. So I will let you know on our adventures. If you follow my private Instagram, which is Powder Keg Chris, K-R-I-S, then I post tons of pictures from here in New England, and I recommend following that, kind of see what's up. JB1 Family, of the places you've been, which part of the country do you find the most and best vintage for sale? Well, I would definitely say Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Kansas, just because that's where I've done the most hunting. So I'm sure there's great places everywhere, but of those places, I would definitely say Oklahoma has some really good junkin' and pickin' that can be done. So Arkansas is pretty good too, and I've had a lot of good luck in Wichita, Kansas. So AC1D Pops asks, is it hard to keep organized when you're always hunting for treasures? I struggle myself and I only buy things for my personal collection. Yes, 80% of the time my house looks like a tornado went through, especially when I'm packaging. It gets bananas stuff everywhere. Okay. The Wonder Found wants to know, what's the meaning of life? Well, in my opinion, I would say love, happiness, and kindness are the most important things. I know that there's a lot of controversy and politics causing a lot of angst in general, but I think that if we all kind of have the motto love, happiness, kindness, the world would be a better place. Love, happiness, kindness. LHK. Summer Jean Vintage, if you won the lottery, what would be the first in search of collection piece you would buy and why? Okay, if I won the lottery, I would first of all want to buy my dream home. I don't know what that home looks like. I know that it's old. I would never want to buy a brand new home, so I would want a very old house. I would also want some amazing, comfortable, unique vintage furniture. Cattywampus, What got you into thrifting and what's your absolute favorite possession? So like I said, my mom introduced me to thrifting, garage sales, and estate sales, but my husband really introduced me to good flea markets, and I love that kind of stuff. My absolute favorite possession, I mean, I don't know, I really value a lot of things that I have. But this past year I've really kind of learned to not be so attached and have favorite things once I started selling my own collections. So, I mean, I have a lot of favorite things. I really like knickknacks and little kitschy tchotchkes. So, Undine7777, have you ever been to Italy or places in Europe? Again, no, I've never traveled out of the country. Have you gone to see incredible artwork at museums? The only art museum I've been to is the Oklahoma City Museum of Art, which has a large Chihuly glass display. I don't have a lot of experience with museums. I've not been to very many. Saying that out loud makes me realize I should definitely go to some though. Deja Vu Junkie says, how did you meet your husband and how long did you date before you got married? So I'm going to do a whole different video on this I think sometime, but I met my husband on Plenty of Fish and we got married 14 days exactly after the day that we met. So we met on Tuesday, March 9th and we eloped on Tuesday, March 23rd. Bananas, we're going on 8 years. Whew, gray. TH Viking asks, what type of toppings do you like on your pizza? So shout out to Jen, my bestie. Since we were young children, we were heating up some cheese pizza and just scraping off the topping. I could just eat a whole pile of pizza cheese. But if I were to get not cheese pizza, I would want a thin crust, crispy, well done pizza that has bacon, onion, and mushrooms on it, but only if the mushrooms are fresh mushrooms, not canned, and thin sliced. So, and again, extra cheese. Can't get enough cheese. Mendoza M Vintage asks, what's the most exciting vintage thing you've ever found? So back home we had Big Trash Day. They don't have that here in Maine, but I have found some really cool, just junky treasures on the side of the road that people were throwing out. So, I don't know, once my stepson Jack and I stumbled upon a pile that had been thrown out of an attic when a house was being renovated, and the pile belonged to a judge in Oklahoma that had passed away, and it was stuff from the 30s and 40s, some amazing finds. Turns out I found the family and returned the items to them, but they did not know that his stuff was tucked away in a corner of the attic. So they did let me keep something from the find, and I kept a early 1900s Boy Scout trumpet that was engraved. It's really cool. It's in my kitchen now. Ephesians 2:10 asks, if you could only keep one pattern or style of vintage item, what would it be? My style changes all the time, but I really like quirky, kitschy, big eyes, big eyelashes, just really cute, happy items. Unicorn Steaks asks, what was your favorite toy as a kid? So I had Georgia Ann, who was my redheaded Cabbage Patch. Actually, wait, was she my, I think she was my redhead. I had a couple, but I really liked my Cabbage Patches. My mom taught me how to braid hair on a Cabbage Patch. I also really liked my Pogo Ball and my bike. I really could rock a light bright. And I would take my Barbie and take my dad's tube socks, cut the toes out, color those socks with markers, and make tube dresses for my Barbie. Super cool. Did I mention my Fisher-Price record player with the plastic records? I really liked that also. Chardonnay Juice Box asks, how'd you get so many followers? So I got the Instagram app January of 2015. The next month I was still learning how to search hashtags and do searches, and I think that I had put in the search for vintage for sale and stumbled upon Green Bee Vintage KC, I think is her shop name, and I realized she was selling from Instagram. I thought that was very unusual. I messaged her, I asked about it. She messaged back. She was so sweet. She explained everything to me. I purchased 3 small items from her, and I sent her an extra $10 with a note that said, will you please send me a surprise item also? She really sent me an amazing box of treasure, and I still have those items. I was instantly hooked, and then I started following people that she was following, and decided I'm going to try this. I'm going to give it a shot. And it was a real learning curve. It took a while to figure out that I didn't need to buy every single thing that I found to resell. And it, like I said, it was a learning curve. But yeah, I would just say follow as many shops as you can find on Instagram. Comment like crazy on their stuff. Join a pod if you're in ISN. So if you don't know what ISN is, message any ISN shop and ask me, or ask the Traveling Button, or Funky Junkie Jen. There's tons of shops that can tell you what ISN is, and we will shoot you up there with followers. Okay, Loretta's Vintage Kitchen. Do you have any siblings? Yes. So I'm adopted. I have 3 biological siblings and 3 siblings in my adopted family. So 6 total. I'm closest to Geraldine and Teresa, my 2 sisters. Do Not Destroy Shop asks, what section of thrift stores do you go to first? So if I'm at a regular thrift store, I always go to like the knick-knack breakables section. If I am at the Goodwill pound, or the bins, whatever you call them, I go to the junkiest, most cruddy packed bin I see, and I start digging. Last one is from Patty Kimbley. If you had to super mega downsize and only keep one item of your vintage stuff, what would you pick? Where did it come from, and why that one thing over everything else? So I would probably keep everything from my mom. She's given me some amazing things that she's had all of her life, or that her parents had in their home. Those things are special to me. They're in a shadow box and just scattered here and there throughout my house. I also have a pink 1952 hair salon table that has glitter flecks in the paint that Paige gave me the second year that we were married, that he got out of a carpet warehouse attic where he used to work, and it's beautiful. So again, I think there's a picture of it in my bathroom at the bottom of my feed if you have time to scroll that far. Okay, so for the giveaway, I have written everybody down. I'm just going to pull one out, and I will message you on Instagram, and I will just need you to send me a DM with your address. So I just picked one. Here, let me do that again so you can see me pick one. Shake it up. Okay. It is Loretta's Vintage Kitchen. Loretta's Vintage Kitchen. DM your address to me, your name and address, and I will send something really cool to you. So anyway, subscribe right down below. Just hit subscribe. Super easy breezy, lemon squeezy. Okay, thanks guys. Peace, love, happiness.